Time for a very boring and very in-depth explanation on the equipment we are using to film the comedy special and why we need to spend the money on it. Hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to the boring technical video about my comedy special, which we are filming in November and which will be released early next year. Not exactly sure on a date range, hopefully around March, but it depends on how long it takes to edit and get the promo ready for release and all, you know, all that kind of boring shit. But that's what you're here for, boring shit, right? So basically in this video, I'm gonna talk about all of the technical sides of the comedy special, which is why we're filming it, how we're filming it. I'm gonna go through all of the equipment, or almost all of the equipment that we're using. It's not all locked in yet. I need to hear from the director about lighting. We don't know anything about lighting, and you know, it might change a little bit if we figure out, you know, oh, this camera would be better than that camera, or, you know, it's not set in stone right now, but this is pretty much what we're going to use to film the special. So the intended format that we're going to put this special out is a $5 digital download, and we're filming it in 4K resolution. Now, that's not exactly necessary. 4K isn't exactly mainstream yet, but the reason I decided to do it in 4K is, one, it will look obviously a lot better, a lot more high quality, but also I think that it future-proofs the special. I think that visual and audio quality is so important, and especially for a special where it doesn't matter how good your jokes are, if nobody can hear the audience laughing, it's just going to be awkward. Or if nobody can see how your body is moving during a physical bit, it's never going to be as funny. So that's why I'm really trying to make this look as good as possible. One, so that we can future-proof it. So, you know, ideally, I would love for this special to get picked up on Netflix, but if it doesn't happen now, and maybe my next special gets picked up for Netflix, I can give them this one that we're filming now, and they can put it on their platform, and it's not going to look out of place when compared to other ones. Whereas if I had just filmed this on the cheap in, you know, regular resolution, maybe I put $5 into it, had 5 cameras, and it looked kind of okay for YouTube, you couldn't put that on Netflix. It would just look out of place. So that's why we've decided to do it in higher resolution, and with the idea in mind to do it as a $5 digital download with no DRM, because I hate that shit. So now you know how we're doing the special and why we're doing it like that. Let's go through the equipment. Let's start off with the most important thing, the cameras. Now, our original setup was going to be 4 cameras. So we would have 1 camera on the front corner of the stage. A guy will be holding it on his shoulder to catch my moving stuff. And then we would have 2 cameras at the back of the theater in either corner to film the bulk of the shots. And then we would have 1 camera up top on the balcony, which would film some more interesting shots from further away and a little bit higher. Now, because we passed stretch goals, we actually managed to fit another camera on the other side of the stage at the front on a stabilized rig. 4 of the cameras that we're going to be using, which are the main ones, the 2 at the back, the 1 near the stage, and 1 up top, are going to be Sony FS7 cameras. Now, this is just the body. The body for this camera, no lens, is worth between $10,000 and $12,000. So we're having 4 of those. We're renting them, obviously not buying them. I would be in a fucking homeless shelter within the week. Now, the camera on a stabilized rig, which will be close to the stage on the other side, we are using a Sony F5. Now, let's talk lenses, the actual glass that goes into the camera bodies. This is some fucking ridiculous shit, the lenses that we're using. So we are going to have 5 Canon 17 to 120mm zoom lenses. These lenses are worth $27,000 each, okay? And we're getting 5 of them. So if I drop one, I'm leaving the country. And I'm never coming back. No, we're getting insurance, obviously, so fucking heaven forbid anyone drops them. I am not gonna touch them. It's not my problem if someone drops them. Actually, it is a huge problem if someone drops them, but anyway, why am I thinking about that? That's just stressing me out now. The reason for that is the cameras that'll be at the back of the back of the theater, behind the audience, and also on top of the balcony will obviously need to have a really wide zoom range, so that, you know, if we want to film the whole theater while I tell a joke, or if we want to zoom in on my head while I tell a joke, that is possible. So those 5 lenses are going to go on the 5 Sony professional cameras. All 5 of the Sony cameras will of course have their own tripod to make sure they're nice and stable, and they will all have their own camera operators because, I don't know, artificial intelligence is not invented yet, so unfortunately we do have to rely on humans for things. How shit is that? And each camera operator is going to have an earpiece that connects to Antonio, who'll be sitting in a control room, bossing everybody around, making sure everybody's doing their job and filming what they should be filming. Now that we've gone through all the cameras and the lenses and the operators, now we're just down to the boring things. So every camera is going to have its own battery and battery replacements, and there's going to be a big 24-inch LCD monitor that will be in the control room just so Antonio can see what's being filmed while he's bossing everybody around. Then we're going to have cables that connect all of the cameras to that monitor, so of course he can see what's happening in real time. And also he will have his own wireless communication system so he can talk to every camera operator, the sound guy, the lighting guy, and the team that will be backstage making sure that the show runs smoothly itself and I walk on stage when I'm supposed to walk on stage. Of course, the most important piece of audio equipment is the microphone. We are going to have 2 Sennheiser wireless microphones. They can run up to be about between $700 and $1,000 each, depending on what model we use. So the reason why we have 2 is obviously I'm going to need one while I'm telling my dick jokes, and then also we're going to have one backstage just so we can do things like back announce, like welcome to the show, turn your phones off, welcome to the stage to all of the opener acts, and then they can get off stage and welcome me onto the stage. So just to have one backstage just really works well for things like housekeeping and making sure, you know, everybody in the audience knows what's about to happen. Then the second most important microphones is the microphones that are actually in the audience. So what we're doing for the audience microphones is we're going to have 8 condenser microphones hung above the audience. So we're going to have to rig it up to the lighting cable or the roof, or I don't know how it's going to be done, but they are going to be rigging up the roof of the theater with cables that we will then hang microphones down on, and microphones will be sitting above you while you're watching the show, just so we can catch the audience's laughter, because that is really the second most important thing of the special. 1, how it looks. 2, how it sounds, because there's nothing worse than watching a comedy special and hearing canned laughter. Because I've heard stand-up shows where they didn't mic up the audience, and basically all that you're left with is a comedian telling jokes into the microphone, and that sounds like it's great. You know, his voice sounds really good, but if there's no microphones in the audience, you actually cannot hear them laugh. So it just sounds like a comedian really confidently tanking. Like he looks like he's killing it, but you can't hear the audience laugh, so it just sounds awful. And of course, for the sound gear, we will have dedicated people in charge of making sure everything that sounds good. So that's another staff cost that we have for the special. And finally, we're up to the lighting. Now, we haven't decided on the equipment that we're using for the lighting because we need to talk to the venue and see what we can plug in, what we can change, and then we also need to talk to the lighting guy to figure out, you know, what he thinks is going to look best, and then we have to figure out, you know, how do we actually want it to look. So once we have all of that information, we can start choosing what specific lights we're going to use. But basically, without knowing specifics, we're going to rig up the, there's usually in most theaters, there's a big bar that goes above the stage that you hang lights on. So we're going to have different lights for different reasons. So when I have a blackout, or if I need lights to flash at some point, or if I need color during a joke, that's all the things that we're going to have to figure out, and that will change what kind of equipment that we use. And also, of course, there will be a lighting guy there on the night to make sure that the lighting is running smoothly and it looks really good, and he will be connected to Antonio, who will be in charge of everybody on the night too. Now, in terms of people, who's going to be there that isn't operating equipment, of course, we're going to have me to perform the show, but before me, we're going to have 2 stand-up acts opening the show. So we're going to have an MC who runs the night, make sure all of the audience knows what's happening. So he's going to go, hey, welcome to the special, here are the rules, this is what you should do, blah, 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 enjoy the night, all that kind of stuff. Welcome to the stage of the opening act. The opening act comes, does a whole bunch of material, then he gets off stage, the MC comes back on stage, he does a bunch of material, and then he welcomes me to the stage and I go out and hopefully kill it. Now, what about backstage? Well, of course, we're going to have a stage manager on the night who's going to basically be in charge of me and the rest of the performers, and they will be talking to Antonio. So when Antonio says, all right, all of the gear is set up, all of the audience are in the rooms, lock the doors, the stage manager goes and makes sure all of the staff lock the doors, make sure everyone's happy and comfortable, tells me what's going on, tells me, you know, you're going on stage in 5 minutes, you're going on stage in 3, 2, 1, on you go, all that kind of stuff. And they are basically in charge of also the opening acts and the MC, all that kind of thing. We will also have a makeup artist there on both nights. This is something that I don't know why I need. And all of the stand-up comedians that I've spoken to who have performed comedy specials before, they all had makeup artists. And I asked every single one of them, what is the makeup artist for? Do you think they're necessary? And they all went, I have no idea why they're there, but anytime I've ever filmed something, they are there, so I think they're necessary. So we're having a makeup artist that specializes in TV makeup. From what Antonio can tell me, basically it's because of how powerful the lights are and how high quality the cameras are. Sometimes you can just look a little bit washed out. So the makeup artist comes in just to put some more color in your face so that, you know, it all evens out and you pretty much look how you would normally look in real life, which, you know, obviously for me, I'm a pale as fuck. I don't want to go out there looking like Casper the Ghost. That's all of the equipment and all of the staff that will be there for the venue, so that's where most of the money is going. But of course, there is also costs associated with hiring the venue itself and all of the ticketing stuff for when people come in, all of that kind of thing. And then there's also ticketing fees for selling the tickets, because unfortunately we do have to use Ticketmaster because the venue that we want to use is exclusive with Ticketmaster, and I hate using these big ticket companies, but we've managed to work out a deal to make it cheaper for the people buying tickets, and we just have to do it because the theater is so beautiful. So yeah, there are costs associated with that, but other than that, oh, of course, there's the editing. Or how could I forget? So after we film the thing, then it goes into edit mode. So we've allocated 10 days for editing. So that is from 9 to 5 editing this thing. So it's things like color grading, cutting, making sure we use the right cuts. If I did a joke better on the second night, we'll replace it and put it there instead of using the one from the first night. Just basically watching both of the shows and picking the best angles, the best times I said something, editing the fucking thing. So that's paying an editor full-time for 10 days, as well as Antonio and myself to be there to watch over his shoulder and choose the shots that we want to use. Then, after editing, when we have the finished product in our hands, that's when we move into the release of the project. So what we need to do for that is we need to organize premiere screenings, which will be happening all across Australia, and because of the stretch goal, we're doing one in the UK, which is fucking sick. So we got to organize movie theaters and tickets and all that kind of shit. But the main thing is making sure that people can download this thing. They can buy it, they can watch it. So what we need to do for that is we need to figure out a digital service that will allow digital downloads, whether we use an external service or whether we build a website specifically for that. That could be a huge cost. Or we could just use a service that takes a small percentage of sales. We're undecided on that. I'm not too sure what we're going to do, but it will probably be another service because from what I understand, website creation is so fucking expensive, especially if you're selling downloads. Then after that, we need to figure out the physicals. So the DVDs, the CDs, all that kind of shit. So we need to get DVDs printed. For that, we need to get artwork done. We need to figure out menus for the DVD menu and special features and all that kind of stuff. We need to record special features, so commentary tracks, things like that is, you know, more money that we're putting into it. Not that I'm complaining, by the way. It sounds like I'm complaining. I'm very happy that we're doing this. We have the budget. I'm just trying to explain where that money is going. After we've done that and the finished product is ready and set to be released, we need to get it rated. Now, this isn't something that we have to do, but I just would love to get an official rating by the government of whether it's G, PG, M, MA or R. I'm pretty sure this thing is going to fall right between MA and R. Depends. I'm not too sure how many times you can say cunt and not get an R rating. So I don't know if they're sitting there with a clicker, but we'll see. It's probably going to be MA or R. So I think it's a couple $100 to get it, because you have to pay people to watch it and then they go, oh, we think it's offensive for these reasons, so we're going to give it an MA or whatever they decide to do. I might get a G rating and I can put it on fucking the Disney Channel I might be the next Logan Paul. And that's it, guys. That's a list of all the equipment that we're using, all of the people that we're paying, and all of the services that we need to use to get this special from me to you. So that's about it. As I said, I'm not the most technical person. I don't know what all of these things do or why we need it exactly. That's why I have Antonio, who knows all this shit back to front. But I hope that kind of, you know, explained where the money's going and why it's so expensive, and, you know, really said that we're not fucking around with this thing. We want to make it look like TV. That's basically all I had to say. If you have any questions about it, any more technical questions that I may not have answered, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll answer as many as I can over the next couple of days. Other than that, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for pledging if you have. If you haven't, I think there's might be a couple of hours left after I put this video up. If you did miss the crowdfund, that's right, because, you know, you'll be able to get it when it comes out. So that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for pledging, and I'm fucking excited to get started on this thing. Death threats don't scare me. Thank you.